The Long Goodbye was one of the nightclubs in downtown Portland that catered to the thriving punk scene of the late 70s, early 80s. Bands such as Black Flag, The Bags, The Dills, and even Dead Kennedys were constant performers at this club. The Long Goodbye was located on the corner of Northwest 10th and Everett. This building was where the Long Goodbye once stood. Today, we find ourselves not at the once thriving Long Goodbye Club or its location, but on Burnside Street in Portland, Oregon, where the plot of a story unfolded that was told by Jello Biafra to the audience during a live performance at Portland's own Earth Tavern Club. Today, we visit Burnside Street in Portland to retrace the steps of Jello Biafra and the conflict that occurred on the night in question when he got into an altercation with some passers-by in a large 4x4 truck. In the story, Jello Biafra mentioned of wandering around on Burnside Street at 10:30 at night. The streets were quiet up until he was hassled by the youngsters in question, who shouted hate comments to him and showered him with water before speeding off. Jello Biafra picked up a nearby rock he found and would find himself in front of the Kentucky Fried Chicken. This was before it was dubbed KFC, folks. And that was located right next door to the Fred Meyer, when the same youngsters pulled up, shouted some hateful comments again, and like before, showered him with some more water. Now, Jello threw the rock this time that he was carrying and did some light damage to the exterior of their truck. Angered by this, the two youngsters pulled into the parking lot of a department store just across the street from the Fred Meyer, jumped out of their trucks carrying several clubs, and chased Jello into a nearby phone booth in front of the Kentucky Fried Chicken, where the youngsters immediately started beating on the phone booth trying to coax him out. The youngsters eventually called the police, and by the time they arrived, several people who heard the commotion would stand around watching the scene unfold. The police separated the two parties, placing Jello Biafra into the back of the police car before getting both sides of the story. Concluding that both parties were in the wrong, they decided to release both parties and had them go along their separate ways. This is Burnside, folks. I'm standing in front of where the Kentucky Fried Chicken once stood, which is now a Taco Bell. And as you can see, there's the Fred Meyer from the story, and across the street where you see the off-white building over there, that's where the department store was. And that's where the youngsters pulled into the parking lot there to come after Jello with their clubs. Now, this vacant spot right here was where we believe the phone booth once stood. So we are at the spot where Jello Biafra had that famous conflict that was detailed in the song Night of the Living Rednecks, which, by the way, was recorded live in Portland, Oregon. And he performed that in 1979 at the Earth Tavern, and that's where his guitarist string broke, and to fill space and time in their time slot, Jello went into this story about the last time he was in Portland, and the rest is history. This is where that famous conflict was, folks. So hope you've enjoyed our little trip down memory lane and a little bit of insight on punk history as we know it. And as for Jello Biafra, no hard feelings, huh? But where is the nearest McDonald's?